Day two at Edgbaston, a day that has been dominated by the skill and will of Shubman Gill and leaves India in a very, very strong position. I've got Ravi Shastri and Nasser Hussain alongside me to look back over the proceedings of the day. I wanted to start, gentlemen, at the end, if you like. India posted a mammoth 587 and England have found themselves in dire trouble, 25 for 3 at one point. Is this a sort of vindication, I suppose, of India's decision to change the team around? And also, does it sort of show a little chink in the armour when it comes to England's disregard of safety, if you like, when it comes to their batting?
I just think it shows what a tough game Test match cricket is mentally. 150 overs in the field. We've been there, Butch. We've been there on this very ground. It frazzled the brains of those top 3 or 4. And the shots they played, where they were very smart, we were all applauding the way they played at Headingley in both innings, but in particular the second innings in the run chase, where it wasn't a Bazball-y type of innings, it was a smart innings. I thought they looked a bit frazzled, and all 3 shots, as we speak, they're 3 down with 5 minutes to go, but all 3 shots, if they looked at them, they would have said, we could have done better.
Akash Deep must have impressed you. I mean, a big call for him to come into the side, that India ringing those changes. And he got pumped in the first over for 12, half volleys getting banged down the ground, and everyone was thinking, wow, this pitch is still very flat. And then he picks up a couple of big wickets in Duckett and Ollie Pope.
He bowls the right length for the surface. You know, we've seen the odd ball keeping low. It's more an India-like surface now, you know, where you need these skidders who can keep the ball up and get it to nip around a bit. So, you know, he is most effective with the new ball. You know, even the last time he played against England, he got 3 wickets with the new ball, the same 3 wickets, including the wicket of, I think, Joe Root. You know, he got Duckett, he got Crawley, I think, and he got another one. So I thought he did his job. But the question to be asked is whether, you know, the decision to change the side is vindicated or not. You'll get to know after the end of the game. If you take 20 wickets, nothing succeeds like success. We said the counter punch has to come immediately, and you can see India have come out there meaning business. You know, they've got the opportunity to make that big score thanks to Shubman Gill's innings, and then contributions from the all-rounders. So that's been vindicated. You know, by getting Washington Sundar there, I thought that partnership very important. 100+ runs with his captain have allowed India now to set attacking fields and attack and put pressure on England.
Certainly done that. But Nasser, you've been, well, it's dogged you for years, hasn't it? The putting in of Australia all the way back in Brisbane. But I mean, you know, Ben Stokes, 2 Test matches on the trot, has inserted the opposition. The first one at Headingley seemed very strange given the weather conditions and the forecast and all the rest of it, and they kind of didn't get away with it, but won that one. He's done it again, and it's turned out even worse for him. How do you see that call now?
Well, you only win if you win. So they won the last game. He'll say, well, I told you so. It didn't deteriorate that much. You could argue that India, if they'd taken their catches and been a bit more ruthless, and if Jadeja had bowled a better line on that last day, the result wouldn't have gone that way. But they won the Test matches. Yeah. So as a captain, you know, you take that. Here, I think it hasn't done as much as they thought. For an hour, it did a bit for Chris Woakes bowling at that far end, but it hasn't done it that much, let's be honest. Since lunchtime yesterday, day 1, it's done very little. The stats, and we did a pitch report this morning with Stuart Broad, it's seamed less, it's swung less, it's bounced less, it's been slower, it's spun less, it's done nothing. So you can't say that's what you expected it to do. And whatever you say, oh, we'll have a chase and we'll do it at the end of the game when the opposition, who have become more ruthless and their captain's gone on to get a magnificent double 100, then you are. And what it leads to is, A, physical demands on the bowling attack, because you've gone back-to-back now bowling first on flat pitches. So physically you saw Carse's pace drop off because his toes hurting again. And then I go back to mentally, that takes its strain on the batting lineup, again being in the field for a long period. So it does catch up with you when you go bowling first in 2 Test matches.
Great time, I think, probably. You talked about the pitch conditions, but to go back to Shubman Gill, I mean, what an achievement. Incredible innings. 269, batted for the best part of a day and a half, maybe a day and 2/3. Highest score by an Indian in England, highest Test score by an Indian captain. I mean, that sort of answers one or two critics that he might have had after the first match at Headingley. And I nicknamed him the Persuader because in an era where we see so many players sort of bashing the ball to the boundary, he just coaxes it there, strokes it there, and plays in sublime fashion. What did you make of it?
You mentioned batting a day and a half, and I can't think of 4 false shots. In that entire length of time, when he goes, he absorbs the pressure. He's the captain of the side. The team is 1-0 down, and what I liked was what he learned from that mistake he made in the first Test match. That was after cruising along, the way he got out to Shoaib Bashir.
Chipped one to backward
deep
square
mid
leg.
wicket, and there was a collapse.
Yeah.
So that would have played on his mind when he came out to bat this morning. Overnight, 114, he said, listen, I've got to get a big one. And sure enough, he got a big one and hardly put a foot wrong. But determination, the application, the concentration was there for everyone to see. And yet at the same time, scored at a pretty good rate. Yes, he got company from Jadeja and Washington Sundar. But what a knock this is. And it augurs well for India for the future because, I thought the selectors did the right job in making him captain. I also said at that time, do not tickle him for 3 years. Let him be there. Let him learn from overseas trips. You're only going to improve. Don't expect him to be a champion captain day 1 or day 2. Give him time. And the only question was, can he handle that pressure? That he's answered with 200s.
Hasn't he just?
Did you mean to go skill, will and gill in your very first sentence, by the way?
What do you think?
Knowing you, yes, definitely.
Yeah. What did you make? It was a fabulous thing. 2 great displays of batsmanship from him over the first 2 Test matches.
Chanceless. Yeah. And as Ravi says, not just chanceless, but there were no shots where he's fallen over at the crease or nicked it through slip or whatever. He's not going to make ugly runs, is he, Shubman Gill? I don't think I've ever seen him make ugly runs. That was just a fabulous double 100. He probably a bit disappointed. He may have been eyeing a triple 100, maybe even Sehwag's highest total for India. And at the rate as well. It wasn't like they were just surviving and taking the runs. This game, you're going to need to score quickly. If you're going to get 20 wickets on this very flat pitch, you're going to need to score your runs quickly, and he absolutely did that.
Did you find or did you feel that there was any point? It's not often that Ben Stokes kind of runs out of ideas or runs out of options, but did you feel that point was reached at some time today in the field?
When Harry Brook comes on to bowl, you sense that, I'm not taking away Harry as an all-rounder or anything, but you sense that we may be down to our last, chance saloon here or whatever. I was a bit surprised he didn't bowl Joe Root a bit more.
Yeah.
Joe came on and bowled that absolute Jaffa to Washington Sundar to get him out. But Joe is a better bowler than sometimes we make him out to be. Now, whether they're looking after him, but I would have given Bashir a bit of a rest at times because he's got slightly different arm angle, isn't he? Joe's a bit lower, Bashir's a bit more over the top. Everyone talks about his high release point. Joe's there, so I might have gone with Joe Root a bit more.
I was wondering because we didn't see Woakes or Stokes after the first session as well. I mean, is that Stokes looking after his body? Because there were times there when it was crying out for some of his aggression, some of his golden arm, but we didn't see him at all.
No, yeah, that was look at the long term. There's always a short-term picture as a captain where you're trying to win every day, every game, but the long term of what this series and what's coming up after in England are 3/4 of the side if they don't have their influential captain. I think there'll be a real rejig. 2 sides have seen it differently. England have gone back-to-back with the same attack, which has been really hard work on flat pitches, and then there'll be huge changes in the last test, in the next test. You can imagine Archer coming in, maybe Sam Cook coming in, maybe Atkinson coming in, others been rested. India have seen it differently. They've taken their star bowler in Bumrah out and saving him for Lord, so it'll be interesting which strategy works better.
Speaking of strategy, Ravi, at the 500, it looked as though India might have wanted to have pushed on to 600, made the follow-on 401. How do you see it playing out from here? I haven't seen a great deal in the way of turn. Yes, Siraj and Akashdeep have taken early wickets, but now England seem to have just settled a little and the pitch is very, very flat. Can you see India forcing a win, taking 20 wickets here?
They'll try and do that. I liked what they saw. I saw of India, this evening. They realised what these conditions are, and also, you saw the odd ball keeping low. If that happens, then I think this attack becomes a little more potent because with Akashdeep, he'll give you control. He'll target the stumps, he'll bowl stump to stump, and if the odd one keeps low and nips back, he comes into play. Siraj, is a trier. My issue is Prasidh Krishna. For long spells, can he be consistent? if he can be consistent, then you're in business, because the two spinners, will do their job.
Are those two spinners, are they going to find enough purchase? Are they the type of spin bowlers that can rip a side out? Say second time round, so they get knock England over for less than the follow-on, ask them to do it again. Are they good enough to kind of take 10 wickets between them should nothing happen for those fast bowlers?
They are, but they won't be able to do it as quickly as if a wrist spinner had played. Wrist spinner would be in business. If there's rough outside the off stump and you have variety of a wrist spinner with the leg break, the googly, the flipper, coming into play, then you're asking some real questions. For a finger spinner, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. They'll have to have a lot of rough outside that, either the left-handers off stump or the right-handers off stump for them to really come into play, because nothing much is happening out of the straight. I won't have a sleepless night playing against a spinner for the next couple of days. But if there was a genuine quality wrist spinner, yeah, he could be in business.
Well, I sense Ravi's still not 100% sold on the changes that India made for the team. What about those? Let's go back to England's batting again. You mentioned the fact that they were three pretty poor shots. I mean, Ollie Pope trying to hit a ball from outside off stump through mid-wicket, first ball. Ben Duckett doesn't nick very many, but he got away with one, didn't he? And at Headingley was dropped at backward point, didn't get away with it today. And then Zach Crawley with it. I don't even know how to describe that stroke from Zach, having played beautifully up until that point, and nicking one to slip there.
I think Duckett probably was the one you're least disappointed, because that's how he plays, in as much as he doesn't leave much, and he left 2 balls in the last game consecutively. Yeah. So and I'm surprised he doesn't nick many, but he doesn't. He just plays, and today he nicked it. The other 2 are a concern, because Ollie Pope, if you look historically, he starts series really well. In the last series in India, he got 190 and then fell away, and he doesn't want that pattern. Even before that, he's had that pattern of starting well and then falling away. And if you look, he walked off one day at Headingley 100 not out. The next day he didn't get many in the second innings. He's got Duck here. He's got to sort of arrest that decline in a series. And then Zach Crawley, if you look at him this summer in domestic cricket, he doesn't get many runs in the first innings, and when he has scored, it's been in the second innings. And that sort of sums up Zach Crawley for me. When it's doing a bit, he looks incredibly vulnerable, and when it's not doing a bit, he looks a world beater. So Headingley second time round, when it wasn't doing much, brilliant. First innings, when they got that Jaffa from Bumrah, not so brilliant. Here, when it swung away, first few balls, bang, 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 you go, wow, Zach, this lad can play. And then when it swings, he nicks it. You could argue, well, that's the same for everyone, isn't it? When it moves, you're vulnerable. But for him, the differences are too big, and that's why his stats are what they are. 31 he averages in both first class and Test match cricket. The only thing I'd say to Zach Crawley is, at the end of your career, is that what you want? At the end of your career, do you want to be remembered? You may play 90 Test matches or something, but do you want to be remembered as someone who averaged 31, 32 in first class cricket, Test match cricket, or do you want to be better than that? And if he wants to be better than that, he's got to put away that shot he played today.
I think from India's point of view, they'll always believe they'll have a chance with the England top order, because at times it can look loose, with the way they play, and when you see the techniques. So if you bowl in the right areas, you must believe you have a chance to have them at 50 for 3 or 60 for 3, as opposed to when India bat, they've got players with solid technique. England will have to bowl well. So if it's doing a bit, then I feel India will always believe they have a chance. So this Test match becomes important now. They can draw level here. This is going to be a cracking series.
With Bumrah to come back.
Yeah, I think what we've got to be careful with as pundits is that we don't get too up and rave about them when they play well, and then go the other way when they nick off like they did today. We were all raving about them at Headingley, and wow, isn't Bazball great? But we did have the caveat in there that they were smart there. I just don't think they were particularly smart tonight.
OK, well, play has drawn to a close here at Edgbaston. It's been another fascinating day. It's been a day dominated by India, and in particular their captain Shubman Gill. I think the crowd got their money's worth. You might even have managed to sneak all of the overs in. You never know your luck. But we will be back tomorrow. I will probably have 2 new guests. They won't be as good as these 2.
I'm not doing this again with you.
No, you're not doing it. No, you've decided he's never doing it again, which absolutely suits me fine. So we will see you tomorrow after day 3 for a catch-up on what has happened here at the Test match at Edgbaston. It's fascinatingly poised, although India are dominating, over 500 runs ahead still on first innings. See you tomorrow.